Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving right into something really cool. Our goal is to explore how platforms like PraxiLabs are evolving biochemistry education way beyond the confines of traditional physical laboratories. We're going to look at the data, the mechanics, and the real-world applications of this incredible technology. So, if you've ever wondered how the digital world is transforming hands-on science and making it more accessible than ever before, you are in exactly the right place.
Okay, let's dive into this. How do you practice complex and, let's be honest, sometimes genuinely hazardous biochemistry experiments without ever stepping foot in a physical lab? It's a massive challenge, right? Think about remote learners, underfunded schools, or even just eager students wanting extra practice without the risk of a dangerous chemical spill. Well, for a really long time, the answer was kind of just you couldn't. But today, the solution is something quite extraordinary.
The answer is the Biochemistry Virtual Lab. Think of it as an interactive, immersive 3D simulation replicating real biochemistry experiments and procedures in a totally safe digital environment. Essentially, this technology bridges that critical gap between just reading theoretical knowledge in a textbook and actually applying it practically. You aren't just memorizing formulas, you're virtually performing the science.
Section 1. How virtual labs work. Translating physical science to digital action.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because the tactile process here is absolutely fascinating. First, you're selecting an experiment from this massive library. Then you're following guided procedures step by step. But you're not just passively clicking next. No, you are actively using virtual tools, manipulating microscopes, adjusting pipettes, loading up a centrifuge. You're physically mixing reagents with your mouse or touchscreen and observing those biochemical reactions exactly as they happen. Finally, you're recording real-time results. It's active, hands-on learning, but completely digitized. And this technology casts an incredibly wide net. It's an absolute game changer, not just for university and college life science students across biotechnology, medicine, and pharmacy, but for STEM educators and entire higher education institutions looking for scalable solutions. Crucially, it provides remote and online learners with the practical experience they desperately need to succeed. Even high-level researchers use it when they require safe, repeatable practice before handling rare or super volatile materials. Because going digital eliminates some massive barriers. You can visualize invisible biochemical concepts, abstract molecular processes you could literally never see with the naked eye. It provides a completely safe environment without physical risks, and it drastically cuts down on institutional costs. No need to constantly buy expensive single-use reagents or replace broken glass. But most importantly, it enables repetition and training anywhere, anytime. You can run an experiment 20 times until you've totally mastered it, supercharging a student's scientific curiosity.
Section 2. Simulating complex experiments. A tour of digital biochemistry. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer depth of the digital procedures. First up is affinity chromatography and high-performance liquid chromatography, or HPLC. Students aren't just watching a passive pre-recorded video of chromatography. They are actively preparing the mobile phase by vacuum filtration, performing acid hydrolysis on protein samples prior to injection, and then visualizing the exact results on a chromatographum. The level of granular detail is just incredible.
Our next example is a simulation of catalytic interactions, and it uses a brilliantly creative model. It demonstrates the absolute importance of enzymes and biochemical reactions by using 7-Up to represent the acidic medium of the stomach and biscuits to represent food during digestion. By tracking the digestion, or the lack thereof, of the biscuit, the simulation proves the absolute necessity of digestive enzymes for vital processes inside living organisms. It takes a really complex metabolic reality and makes it instantly visually intuitive.
For our final example, we have total protein estimation, specifically the Bradford assay. Here, students are identifying and measuring amino acids, observing the actual real-time color change of Kwame dye under acidic conditions, and performing serial dilutions. They even calculate the standard curve equation for an example BSA standard to determine the protein concentration. So it's rigorous quantitative biochemistry, all happening seamlessly right there on a computer. Section 3. Virtual labs in higher education. The data on learning outcomes. Let's look at a fascinating comparative study of 3 groups: real laboratory, virtual laboratory, and lecture only. Initially, all the students actually had similar baseline knowledge, meaning it was the teaching methods themselves that drastically shaped the final outcomes. Looking at the results impartially, the real lab group scored highest on the post-test, proving the undeniable value of physical, hands-on experience. However, the virtual lab group showed significant advantages over the lecture-only group, providing benefits highly comparable to real labs when physical access is limited. And, unsurprisingly, the lecture-only group had the lowest retention and conceptual understanding out of the three.
So the crucial point is really captured here. Computer-based laboratories offer incredible flexibility and accessibility, making them an effective complement in resource-constrained settings. Virtual labs aren't necessarily meant to completely replace physical labs where those physical spaces are fully funded, totally available, and safe. Rather, combining virtual and real labs yields the absolute best, most robust educational experience possible.
Now, I know what some of you are probably thinking at this point. How accurate are the results in a virtual lab, really? Can a computer truly replicate the physical, unpredictable chaos of a chemical reaction? It's a completely fair question.
And this brilliantly illustrates the answer. They are highly accurate. These simulations are not just pre-rendered video game animations, they strictly follow real scientific principles and mathematical models designed to precisely replicate real lab experiments. They react exactly how the real world reacts, allowing students to achieve consistent, reliable outcomes based entirely on their own procedural accuracy within the simulation.
Which brings us to our final thought. If the digital world can seamlessly mirror the physical lab, how will this redefine the future of scientific discovery for the next generation? Just imagine a world where every single student, regardless of their school's budget, their geographic location, or their resources, has unlimited access to state-of-the-art laboratory training. The potential for unlocking new scientific minds is absolutely boundless. Thank you so much for engaging with this explainer, and as always, keep questioning the science around you.